I'm Jenny, and thanks for the intro, Karina. It's really fun to be at Wanderlust. This is my 7th year with Wanderlust, so I've been with Wanderlust from the very first one in Tahoe. And to see how Wanderlust has evolved and how I've evolved and how you guys have evolved. Are you guys here for the first time? Anybody? Wanderlust for the first time? Awesome. Welcome. Sweet. It's so fun. And to see how Wanderlust has become more of a global phenomenon and continues to expand. So I'm really happy to be able to share a different perspective with you guys. Usually I am here teaching AcroYoga, and this year I get to present some new material that I've been working on, and it's really exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So I'm going to talk for probably like around 20 minutes, and then we're going to go into some more interactive part. So I'm going to be asking you guys to put your movement maker hats on, and then we'll do some Q&A too. So if you have any questions, feel free to hold them and we'll go over it at the end. So today is not just about how I started a global movement or how one can start a global movement, but about how you, everyone in this room, can start a global movement. And it might be something that you're already doing and just not even maybe seeing it from that perspective. So we're going to look through what that is and how to pull it out of you. So let's talk a little bit more about, when we talk about a movement, what does that mean? So what is a movement? This would be your technical kind of dictionary definition. It's a group of people working together to advance their shared political, social, or artistic ideas. Seems reasonable, right? When you guys think about a movement, what are some movements that you're familiar with? Any ideas? If you think about like political change that's happened in the past, like what movements come to mind? Civil rights movement, feminist movement. Right, so they're all like advancing some kind of a positive future reality that is not yet in existence. So part of the nature of a movement is that it comes from the periphery into the mainstream. It's meeting a need that hasn't yet been met. So I want to introduce an alternate definition for what a movement is. And this one is a values-driven business whose primary objective is to create positive cultural change through a shared practice or experience. So a movement by its nature has to be experiential. There has to be something that people can participate in, and that by participating in it, they're bringing community together. So movements by their nature draw people together and create community, which means we always have to be inviting new people to join our movement. And I want to offer you one more definition that's a little bit more poetic, and this one I really love, which is a quote by Rumi. Let the drop of water that is you become 100 mighty seas. Right? So that's taking that word, that phrase, that essence that is you, and figuring out how can you replicate that? How can you really get that out into the world in a bigger way? And this for me just feels really inspiring that we are unique and at the same time the same. And so how can we get people to join our message and to join our mission and to come together as a community to create that cultural change in the world? So as Karina was mentioning, kind of how did I get here on this stage talking to you guys about starting global movements? It started in 2003. That is pictures of me with dreadlocks when I'm like 25. And I met Jason Niemer, who co-founded AcroYoga with me. So we met in 2003, and we had just a really instant connection, rapport, trust, mutual respect. We felt like we had so much to learn from each other, and it was literally as if like the skies parted and like, oh, that moment, and like AcroYoga like beamed down to us on a silver platter. And it was one of those things that like, usually what happens with a movement or with whatever you're doing, you can't not do it. It's like so powerful and you're so motivated and you're so passionate, you can't hold back. And that's how it was with AcroYoga. It was like, we just need to get this thing out into the world by whatever means we can. So we basically, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have experience building a business. We didn't have a lot of things. What we had was drive, ambition, perseverance, tenacity, dedication, passion, follow through. And we basically would just fly everyone we met. So if you haven't seen the flying work, it's where you're like laying down on your back with your legs up like airplane, like when you do with your parents when you're a kid. So that's basically, we would go to Dolores Park in San Francisco, and that was our office for many years. And we just go out there and play and discover and fly people and spread the practice in a very literally grassroots way, like in parks around the world, That's how AcroYoga got its start. Not because there was a lot of money or advertising behind it, but because it was a one person to one person to one person to one person transmission over thousands and thousands of people and many years. So that was kind of the beginning phase of things. And Jason was always like, this is going to be huge. We're going to take this global. And I was like, can we just teach partner yoga in San Francisco? And it took me a little bit to like get on the train and be like, no, this actually needs to be out there in a bigger way, and I need to be the emissary for that. So AcroYoga we spoke about. It's a combination of acrobatics, yoga, and Thai massage that cultivates trust, connection, and community, and playfulness. So the practice, as we talked about, it's now on 6 continents. It has hundreds of thousands of practitioners and over 400 teachers. So it's grown really quickly, and that's in the space of like 10 years, from 2 people playing in a park. So did that for 10 years. Last year, I actually left AcroYoga as the organization, and Jason's now leading the organization. That was a really big shift for me because AcroYoga was like all I had ever known for my adult life, basically for a decade. And I started to get this feeling like, oh, there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. Like AcroYoga has been amazing, it's been a wonderful vehicle, and yet something more wants to come through, and that was terrifying. To go into the unknown of what is that? I don't know what that is yet. And there's this great quote from my mom I want to share with you, which is, the mark of a good parent is to raise an independent child. And the same is true for raising a movement. So when you give birth to a movement, you're literally giving, something is coming through you, but it does not belong to you. So almost from the beginning, there's this sense that eventually you want to give it away. And you want it to be able to exist on its own without your constant nurturance and control. So we don't have a child to control the child. We have a child to set the child free and to let them live their life. So the same is true when you're birthing a movement. It needs a certain amount of guidance and nurturance for the first number of years or number of decades, depending on the movement. But eventually, it should be able to change hands with many different people and still thrive. And so I'm really happy to say that since I've left AcroYoga, it's doing really well. It's doing awesome. We've trained enough people that they're continuing to push the movement forward, and Jason continues to drive the ship. So it feels really great. It gives me a lot of freedom to now do stuff like this and retroactively engineer, how did this happen with AcroYoga, and how could I provide that as a model for you guys? So what I've birthed since then is the Movement Blueprint, which is what we're talking about today. It's a 5-step interactive roadmap that guides mission-driven entrepreneurs and founders to create a massive ripple effect with their message. So we're going to go over this 5 steps together. The first one is know your value. Step 2 is clarify your message. Step 3 is master your model. Step 4 is create your training program, which is my favorite part. And step 5 is impact the world. So we'll go over all these together. So the first step is know your value. So why would that be important, to know your value? And to know your value is really important because if you don't believe in yourself and your vision, nobody else can get behind you. So if you want to be a powerful leader, your first job is to come into harmony with yourself and to wholeheartedly, 100% believe and commit to who you are and what you're doing, into the worthiness and the value of that. So the main question that comes up in Know Your Value, this like most insidious question that undercuts most people from stepping forward. Does anybody have an idea what that one question might be? That like inner demon that's like, no, you can't do it. Fear. Fear, it's definitely fear-based. Money sometimes comes in. I will show you this one question that stops most people. Who am I? Right, so how many of you guys have thought, who am I to teach this class? Who am I to be a leader? Who am I to guide this movement? Who am I to step forward? Who am I to guide others, right? Like, I've been doing this kind of speaking and teaching for a number of years, and there's still sometimes that voice that comes in that says, what do I know? Like when I had business teachers, coaches, who were the ones that actually planted this idea for me. They were like, you should teach people how to start global movements. And I was like, ha, 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 that's funny. Like, I don't know how to do that. I couldn't even see that I had done that. It took me like 6 months of chewing on it because that question, who am I? Who am I to teach people about global movements? was really alive in me. And so I had to really sit with it for a while to come to terms with, oh, actually, we did start a global movement. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to guide people to do that, but I'm willing to be in the inquiry and ask the question. So answering this question for yourself of who am I, and answering it in a positive way where you feel really good about your life experience and what you have to offer. So the second question here is, how have you transformed a significant challenge into one of your greatest gifts? So if you think about a health coach, right? They might be somebody who suffered tremendous illness in their childhood and they overcame it, and now that's why they want to help other people. Or maybe it was someone who was told not to speak up as a child and they were very shy, and then they become like an opera singer. So it's oftentimes these things that we struggle with in our childhood or early in our lives that we somehow overcome. So we have a way of turning obstacles into opportunities. That's where your gift comes from. That's the thing that you can most valuably offer to other people because you know it so well, because you've seen both sides. Right? If something comes really easily to you, sometimes it's harder to translate. But when you struggle with something, then there's this like triumphant hero's journey, and you can really be a role model for other people that's like, hey, I can take you from A to Z because I've been there. So like for me, I grew up as an only child, and I spent a lot of time alone and with my dogs who were like my brothers, and my parents who were awesome people, but they're also adults. When you're like a little kid, sometimes you want other kids around, and with babysitters. So I spent a lot of time in my childhood really yearning for community and dreaming of having like a big house with a ton of people going in and out all the time, and how awesome that would be. And as I grew up, and then I got into yoga and theater and circus and all this stuff, and I first tried partner yoga, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I love this. And just started doing it like crazy. And then, you know, as we went into the process of AcroYoga and certifying teachers and traveling around the world, it's like I created this whole global community, this family of playmates and brothers and sisters and friends that I never had in my childhood. So had I grown up with that big family that I dreamed of, I might not have created AcroYoga because that yearning would not have been there. And many times people come up to me and they say, wow, thank you for AcroYoga. This practice has changed my life. I never felt like I fit in. I never felt like I belonged. Now I feel like I'm part of a family. And that's really awesome medicine for me because that's been my journey. You know, so it's like we're all reflecting each other. So the journey that you go through and the medicine you've received from that is the gift that you have to offer other people. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So you ready for step 2? Now that you believe in yourself and your mission, you know what your gifts are, you're going to offer it to the world, you have to clarify your message. So you kind of understand your own inner workings in your inner world, but now how do you express that outwards in a way that's going to galvanize people to join your mission? So your message wants to be 3 things. The first one is meaningful, and what helps to define meaning, and this is again getting down really nice and simple, is to define 3 core values that are at the heart of your mission. Secondly, you want to create something that's memorable. So something, it's called stickiness. So something that when people hear it, it's like a jingle. It's like, you know, you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're singing like the Toyota jingle or something. It's like that. It's something that really gets in your mind and it replays over and over. Sometimes that's rhyming. Sometimes that's alliteration. Sometimes it's playing off of a common phrase that we already know. So what's something that people are going to really remember quite easily? And then the third aspect that we're looking at is that it's fun to share. So in a movement, you want to create radical inclusion, which means everyone who's interested is welcome. So you want to keep pulling people in and pulling people in and pulling people in so that whatever your message is, not only is it meaningful and memorable, but it's fun to share. So people are really excited to get out there and tell other people about it, because that's how you hit the tipping point when things spread, when you basically that trickle-down effect where everyone is empowered to share the message and to get involved. So basically what you want to get to a point where every participant is a leader. So everyone has a feeling of ownership and a desire to share and to bring new people forward. So I'll go a little deeper into this for you guys and just share AcroYoga's 3 core values and why this is radical. So sometimes when you have these 3 core values, they seem like normal, like no big deal. But when you put 3 core values together, you see how they become the building blocks of a new culture or new society. So one of our core values is trust. So with AcroYoga, if you see the pose like that, you know that there's a lot of trust, right? That's necessary to attempt something like that. So for our practice, trust is a prerequisite. So when most people meet each other, they shake hands. Maybe in the yoga community, they hug. When acro-yogis meet each other, they fly. So they're going to share body weight and risk right away. So most of us walk around in our society, especially Western culture, with a default of distrust, right? There's a distance, there's like a not knowing, there's walking by people in the street, not wanting to make eye contact. And so this is shifting that paradigm to say, what about a default of trust rather than a default of distrust? So that's how we're changing that paradigm. And the second core value is playfulness, right? So as adults, how often do we get to play? And how much do we miss not playing? Like, play is a birthright. And there's a great quote that I love by Oscar Wilde that says, "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." So really bringing back that childlike innocence and wonder and youthfulness into our adult lives and reclaiming play as a birthright. And then the last one is community. So this is really about elevating the team above the individual. So we live in a capitalist mainframe, generally in the Western world. We tend to be more individualistic. And this is really saying that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So really putting the group as primary. Step 3, after you've mastered your message, is to master your model. And this is really getting your core program set so that you can replicate it quickly and easily. Ideally here, it's also about having a business model that really works, that's sustainable financially. So I'm going to show you briefly AcroYoga's business model. In this bottom row, you'll see the intro. So this is where people get to meet the practice. It's low risk and low cost classes and jams and workshops. When you get into this core level, that's immersions. These are 5-day programs where people really get to dive in deep to the practice. And then in this premium level at the top, that's where we have our teacher trainings. Now this is people who have already done classes and workshops. They've already taken in immersions. The immersions are prerequisites to even apply to the teacher training. So that's, again, driving more people to that middle core offering. Once you have people do the teacher trainings, now those people are going out and they're teaching that intro level of classes and jams and workshops. So you see how it starts to be an auto-replenishing cycle, whereas you send the teachers out, the teachers are doing the intro-level work, which is drawing more people to the core, which is drawing more people to the teachers, which is drawing more people to the bottom. So it continues to do this. And in a movement, essentially, you want to get that bottom row as wide as possible because, again, you want to reach and engage and include as many people as you possibly can. Step 4, create your training program. So once you have those preliminary programs, right, your intro programs and your core programs, you want to build your training programs, your certification programs. So you can exponentially multiply your reach by training other people to carry your message forward. And this just becomes, again, a major tipping point in how you can get your work out there in the world. And it's such a beautiful process and one that I really love and have a lot of respect for. And this is where I do most of my private work now with clients, is helping them create their training programs, their prerequisites, their application process, their curriculum, their follow-up. So there's a lot that goes into this, but when you're ready for it, it's a beautiful, amazing thing. And it's a big part of letting go and letting your baby out into the world. So step 5 is impacting the world. This is a picture from Wanderlust last year from an AcroYoga class. So this is making it easy for new people to find you and join your movement. Could be teaching at festivals and conferences like Wanderlust, where, you know, that maybe is like 200 people, and you maybe do that a couple times over the course of the weekend. Could be products or digital downloads, DVDs, manuals, books. Could be media or interviews like magazines, films, documentaries. So any way in which you can reach people on a massive scale. That's the 5th step. They don't always go in that order, but it's a good template to follow. So one of the closing thoughts I want to leave you guys with is to always remember that everyone matters. So this is a picture from a workshop very early on where there were 4 of us teaching and there were 4 students. And that doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to continue, but we really felt like we want to deliver the best possible experience to these guys. And out of those 4 people, 1 of them came to a retreat and the other 3 became AcroYoga teachers. And out of those 3 people, they've touched the lives of thousands of people. So each person that enters your path, especially in the beginning, they're there for a reason. And angels come when you least expect them, and there's no way to know in that moment until later. So you want to give everything you can to everyone who crosses your path, because there's no accidents. So you give everything always from day one, because a movement starts from one person to one person. And that also helps it feel a little less intimidating. It's just a global movement. Okay, I just got to be with this one person. And that helps a lot. So you are the movement. So I'm going to just remind you again, let the drop of water that is you become 100 mighty seas. Yay! That's it in a nutshell.